In this video, I'm going to share with you how I went from being 60k in debt to building up a 7 property rental portfolio. Hi, I'm Simone, and if we're just meeting for the first time, welcome. If you've subscribed to my channel, I thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you're just here back for another watch again, welcome back. So I just want to begin by telling you about an incident that changed my financial future. Well, one day, it was back in around 2004, there was a knock at my door. And I rushed the kids up off the sofa to hide behind the, the small bit of wall that's left behind, about that wide, when you do the knock through for the through lounge. So I was telling the kids, shh. And my foster son, he must have been about 8 or 9 at the time, was asking, why are we hiding, Sim? Because that's what he called me. Anyway, the man at the door kept knocking. Then he went to the window and he was peering through the window because I wouldn't open the door. Then he went back to the door and eventually I heard him shout, I know you're in there. And that's when I realised it was the next door neighbour. So that was a significant moment for me. I had about £60,000 worth of debt of student loans and credit card loans. I had about 10 credit cards at that time. So I had debt letters coming through my door weekly. I had telephone calls from the credit card companies chasing me for money, and I was hiding from bailiffs. So as I'm not one to just stick my head in the sand, I remember seeing adverts on the TV at the time about debt helplines. And the day I rang the helpline was the day I changed my life around. I don't know if you've experienced being in debt, but it's no fun, I can tell you. I know for some people being in debt can even feel embarrassing, but I wasn't embarrassed about my situation. I just needed to sort it out. The debt helpline was really helpful and non-judgmental, which was so comforting. They connected me to a firm of insolvency solicitors, and from that day, I never received another call or letter or visit from the creditors again. They contacted all the creditors immediately, and they had to communicate through them, not me. They had to stop adding interest to the debts, and I ended up entering into an IVA. So an IVA is an individual voluntary arrangement. They wrote off 75% of my debt. So I ended up only having to pay back £15,000, and that was done by monthly payments over a 5-year period. What they do is they calculate how much money you need to live off, even things like, it includes essentials, food, clothing, housing bills, etc. But even things like hairdressers, newspapers, magazine subscriptions, gym memberships, toiletries, everything. My insolvency solicitor was so good. She even told me to put down amounts for things that I didn't even use. And she basically told me to hide money any monies that I would bring in after the arrangement started in a separate bank account, so that they weren't so that the creditors didn't know about it. Shh, don't tell anyone about that. Whatever money was left after my living expenses went into the IVA. So that went on for about 5 years, and I had agreed that at the end of the 5 years, I would remortgage the property that I owned at the time, so that I could finish paying the IVA with a lump sum. The funny thing is, I had bought the property not long before entering into the IVA, so that I could. I bought it for flipping, so that I could pay off my debts. But after finishing the refurb, there wasn't enough equity in the property to make any profit. Well, when it came to paying the lump sum at the end of the 5 years, I was unable to get a remortgage because I'd been in IVA, so no lenders were willing to lend to me. And the property market was dire, if you remember, in 2009, so selling wasn't an option either. I managed to negotiate with them a lump sum payment of £6,000, which I told them had been gifted to me by my mum, but I actually saved it up from renting the property out and odd jobs I was doing, like delivering catalogues, mystery shopping, that kind of thing. So in the end, I ended up paying just over £10,000 of a £60,000 debt. For another 2 years after the IVA was settled, it stayed on my credit file, so I was unable to get any credit for mortgages, or mortgages. But in around 2011, 7 years, yes, 7 years after entering into the IVA, it was wiped off my credit file. I no longer had any record of any debt on my file, and I was debt free to start life over. Do you know how amazing that felt? In the 2 years I'd waited for the record to be cleared, I'd built up my credit score by using a credit card which is specifically aimed at people needing to build up a credit score with a bad credit record, and that was Vanquis Bank. I'm so grateful to Vanquis Bank, and if you're at a stage where you need to build up your credit, the link to Vanquis Bank is in the description below. Anyway, in 2014, I moved out of London and sold my flat for £100,000 profit, almost double what I paid for it in 2004. In the seaside town where we moved to, property prices were really cheap compared to London at that time. Well, they still are. But in 2015, I bought a flat. It was already a 2-bedroom flat, but I did a change of layout because it had a really big kitchen for a flat and then a small second bedroom. Made no sense. I bought the flat for £105,000 and I did a £20,000 refurbishment. That flat now rents for £975 a month. I know what you're thinking, £975, that's so cheap. Compared to London anyway, if you're a Londoner. But yes, those are the prices around here. In 2015, I took out a small mortgage on our family home, which was bought unencumbered. So that means it had no mortgage on it. And I bought another flat for £110,000. It was a 1-bedroom probate sales. Probate is where the person has died and it's gone into their estate planning, and it was in the sought after area of our town. It had really large rooms and I turned it into a 2-bed property. I did a refurbishment on it for around £23 and immediately increased its value by £40,000. The refurbishment costs were covered by an interest-free, no monthly payment 2-year empty homes loan from the council. In 2016, I bought a further 2 flats for under 100k each. So one was a large single-room flat with a separate bathroom and kitchen, and the other was a 2-bedroom flat with a sitting tenant. That tenant still lives there today and is a great tenant. They were bought with the remainder of the mortgage money, and I bought another 2 in 2017. Again, 1-bedroom, which I converted into a 2-bed using the empty homes loan again, and a 2-bed with another sitting tenant. Which is fine for me because I immediately started to collect rent. So properties with sitting tenants tend to sell for under market value. I bought the property for £125,000 and it was actually vacant. It would have been worth at least £150,000. So I was already £25,000 in. As I bought all these properties for under the £125,000 stamp duty threshold, I had no stamp duty to pay. Win-win. Well, for me anyway. So maybe win-lose. In 2018, I decided to try another strategy. And this time I managed to buy a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with the help of an investor this time, because I'd run out of my own money. So they covered the cost, or the investor covered the cost of the deposit and the buying costs, and I took out a mortgage for the rest. I borrowed money again from the council, no interest loan, no interest, no payments loan until the end of 2 years, and I converted that house to a 6-bedroom, 3-shower room house, HMO, house in multiple occupation, which cash flowed after all the costs were paid, the interest to in the investor. It cash flowed £1,400 a month. I rented that property out to an Irish engineering company for 18 months. The engineers working on a project in the area. When the project finished, they ended up obviously going back home to Ireland. So at that point, I decided to sell the property for 2 reasons. One, because I needed to pay back my loan to the council, the empty homes loan, and second reason was I didn't enjoy being the landlord of a house in multiple occupation. The property sold quickly and I made nearly £80,000 after just 2 years, which I used to pay back the council. Remember, I didn't use any of my own money. So now I'm left with 6 rental properties, growing equity and paying out a bit of an income. Some of that income I'm using now to invest back in the stock market in my favourite dividend stocks. So I hope that my story has been in some way either inspirational or educational or just entertainment for you. But I think there's a few lessons that can be taken out of my story, and one is that there is a way to get out of debt if you seek for help. You can turn your life around financially. There is good debt and bad debt. So right now I'm in about £600,000 worth of mortgage debt, but I'm not personally covering the debt, and I can sleep at night with a smile on my face. And lastly, you've got to invest to grow your wealth. Invest in yourself, invest in time, education and assets. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in another video.